Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far, as we are now seriously closing in on the Call of Duty World Championship, and just after that, the Esports World Cup. Big questions have been raised as to what is going to be happening next with regard to gentlemen's agreements. When the GAs really came into force at the start of the season, the commissioner in Zuma got involved in the snaking stuff. The question was, as time progresses, are we going to see GAs start to get broken? We are now seeing some evidence over the last couple of days that may well be the case. Some GAs broken by Rocker over the weekend, and according to Simp, not punished as he may expect them to be. If the teams are now refusing to punish properly GAs that have been broken, what does that mean for what happens if someone pulls out a bit of a snaking moment at the World Championship with $2 million on the line? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, here for CDL Stats. Thought this was really interesting actually. KDs by team as it stands. So this is stage 4 player KDs so far. There's a few teams, well actually I would say there are 3 teams precisely that have all of the players in the positive. Those are FaZe, Cells up at a 1.2, aBeZy's here at a 1.02 roughly, Drazah and Simp kind of in the middle. You then have Toronto all in the positive. You then have of course Vegas Legion all in the positive as well. There are some serious discrepancies here though. Okay, Purge bit of an outlier because he only played 1 series, but you know it's pretty big gap really between what's going on Miami. MettalZ has been cooking, Vikul and ReeaL, maybe surprisingly for ReeAL's side, both at a 0.9, but they've of course done well so far and look in good position to qualify for the World Championship at this point. Kind of surprising to see Skyz down here below a 1. You very rarely see that, but Kismet's above a 1, so you know usually you might think that would be the other way around. Couple of big standouts though, of course, have to be the Carolina Royal Ravens, right? I mean, we've got TJ, Fellow and Gwyn all at 1.01, 1.02. But Clay's at a 0.85, right? He's had a rough time so far, and I think with Ravens, you know, it's not like Clay escapes criticism because he doesn't. Like, he's a big name player. He knows he's under the spotlight. You know, everyone really, not everyone, but lots of people root for Ravens just because they root for Clay. And I think for very good reason. And as I say, it's not like he doesn't get criticised, but I think there is sometimes an element with Clay. It's like, well, you know, he's had a bad series here, but, you know, it's Clay, you know, like he's still one of the greatest ever. And usually, even when he drops a lower KD, he still has lots of damage. He's still being rather impactful, which I think is true and fair most of the time because he is really fast. But, you know, he knows himself 0.85 isn't good enough when your team's up here and when you're playing just so many important series. OpTic is still pretty tightly knit. Kenny's actually at a 0.9. Everyone else is above that, but of course, you know, the KD doesn't tell the full picture anyway, and obviously bottom of the league is the usual suspect here. Priestahh is even down to the 0.7s, which is pretty ugly after playing a few series so far. With the Esports World Cup on the horizon though, there has been talk about what's going to happen in especially the Call of Duty world on the future of the franchise structure. Adamu is from Toronto Ultra, but they're owned by Overactive Media. They also have Mad Lions, it's actually in his bio on the right-hand side. Mad Lions, KOI, Movistar, KOI, Toronto Ultra, Toronto Defiant. Like, there's all the brands they've got under their heading for various angles. So what do we do about that from a franchise perspective, right? Because of all the teams, Toronto have done one of the best jobs, I would say, in activating the local market. When you go to the Toronto events, there are loads of Toronto fans there. Like, the battle between Toronto and OpTic, that event was great. Like, basically every event you go to, it's going to be OpTic dominant in terms of the fan base in the venue. But when Toronto played, like, it was neck and neck. If anything, Toronto, you know, maybe more Toronto fans there, at least rooting for Toronto in those series, than they were OpTic fans. It was certainly pretty damn close, and it's good to see. I think that's one element of the franchise structure that actually has had some legs, is that some of the teams, not many, but occasionally, you know, a Rocker, a Boston, a Toronto, have managed to activate the local fan base and say, oh, you know, look, I'm a Toronto native, you know, and I'm interested in COD, I should be supporting my Toronto Call of Duty team. Whereas if it's not geolocated, then you don't quite get that. I still think I'd prefer no geolocation, but the debate is, what do we do next? Because the franchise system effectively is coming to a close. They're giving all the money back to the teams. There doesn't seem to be a reason why you would need to be geolocated any longer. Teams may choose to still do so, but effectively what he's saying is that due to issues with sponsors and markets and other factors, Overactive Media are considering having one brand, right, that represents them in the Americas and one in EMEA. So, you know, what exactly is better, right? Obviously, in the immediate term, it might cost things because they've got relationships with certain brands, but in the longer term, it might be better. There's a debate on this, whether Toronto just become a Ultra, you know, and it's not even Toronto anymore, because I'm sure that if you asked Hex if he wanted to be OpTic Texas or OpTic Gaming again, you know, I don't know, maybe he has a different perspective, but I'd imagine that he would choose OpTic Gaming every single time, and probably FaZe would choose FaZe Clan again, and I feel like that will be possible, and it's certainly the case at the Esports World Cup. So big debate on that to come, I'm sure, over the coming years, but we've got to talk about the drama that went down last night on the gentleman's agreements getting broken again. So fantastic episode of Dope Check, one of the most fun that we've done in a long time, and there was some great comments here, right, because we were talking about the Esports World Cup in Saudi Arabia, right? What New York Subliners are thinking about it. Of course, the players are keen to go. The thing is, like, Sib doesn't really know. Like, he's not sure. Are they going? Are they not going? Have they been invited? Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they have been invited. But Sib, even as a player, like, he wasn't aware what the timings are, when they're flying out, like the details, right, haven't really been yet determined. But it is obviously on their mind, right? I mean, Sib said that he looks at it like effectively the, you know, 2 world championships. You got 1 champs, then you got another champs about a month or so later. We were talking about making sure that the pros are being a little bit careful what they try and, you know, bring over there, shall we say, because Sib was asking about that Papadu, and he was like, maybe I'll bring some sort of alternative. And I'm like, look, Sib, just be careful here, brother. Like, let's read the rules and make sure that I don't get into any trouble here, because, you know, I couldn't imagine the TacticalRab thumbnails that have to be going down if one of these copros gets arrested. I wouldn't put it past them, honestly. Like, you know, some of these guys just, hopefully they're well informed anyway when they go to this tournament.
I just bring some alternative.
Okay. Handle your
Bro,
business.
be careful, please. Just like, just all copros go to this event in Riyadh. Let's just make sure we read the rules.
You know I love you to pieces, all right? I'm not bailing you out of fucking Riyadh, bro.
Fucking Riyadh prison, bro.
I will die, you will die, we're fucked.
Surely there will be a gamer there for sure in that Riyadh prison. Surely.
You gotta think at least one of them goes, right?
Yeah, at least, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Man, this is gonna be a crazy thumbnail, man. That's all I'm saying.
Dante, I'll make the call. Don't worry. Whatever you want to do, I'll make the call. You'll be fine in 2 to 3 business days. Don't worry about it.
That's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear.
The aBeZy gets to make the calls. Don't worry.
I mean, listen, if there was one pro from the league right now who would get jailed in Riyadh, who do you reckon it'd be?
Low key. One pro.
Oh no.
Oh god.
It might be me, low key.
I ain't gonna lie.
But
But Sib actually came on the show because he was in the chat talking, because he was watching the show, because, you know, who doesn't? Absolutely sensational content about gentlemen's agreements. Now, this was the big one, really, as of late, but I will say, over the last, month, maybe month and a half, I think we have started to see more GAs start to get broken, or, well, you can say accidentally broken, or I just blacked out, my bad, guys. I stay glitched for a couple of seconds. Yeah, well, I didn't mean to. I won't do it again. And all this stuff. Now, whether you believe the pros on that or not, the reality was at the start of the season, this was a pretty big deal. Here comes Zoom, of course, with the red card. At the start of the season, right, Seattle were breaking every GA under the sun. They were snaking. They were potentially using single tap to sprint. aBeZy said that he didn't, whatever. Like, there's drama on that. They were stay glitching, you know, they were doing it all. And at the start of the season, Seattle were getting blacklisted straight up from practice. Like, this was a known thing that the Seattle Surge team for some time was effectively told by their other counterparts, we're not going to scrim you. You've been cheating, you've been breaking the rules. Like, we came up with this agreement. Initially, it was like, you're going to get no warm-up scrims for your matches. Then it was like, we're not going to scrim you at all. And eventually, they said, okay, we'll allow you to practice again. But this series, OpTic versus Rocker, of course, last, you know, weekend before last now, a long time ago, but we talked about this drama at the time, when quite clearly in this moment, there's a couple of smokes that get used. Stanley uses a smoke, and Linz uses a smoke as well. And this was actually critical in the comeback the Rocker made to get to the round 11. Now, was it accidental or not? You can debate that. But when it was Seattle Surge, even if it was accidental, they were still getting punished. So this, we were raising the question, right, because Rocker got slammed map 1 in both games they played. So we were wondering, like, did they have a warm-up? Like, were they actually blacklisted from a warm-up because they broke the GAs the week before? But as Sib says, no, they had a warm-up scrim for that. So they just absolutely did get cooked to 40 points despite getting warmed up. They had a warm-up. I'm in the rep chat. Don't think anyone said anything about it. And Sib then goes on to say, actually, Vikul then replies and says, half the teams didn't even give their opinion on the situation. So basically saying that in the rep chat, somebody said, hey, Rocker, Staddy, Lins, whatever, they just broke the GAs with the double smokes the weekend prior. What are we going to do about it? And apparently the teams were like, yeah, whatever, like, let's just let it slide. And Vikul wasn't happy about it. He was like, yeah, and obviously ReeaL was in the chat as well. You can see premium podcast that we run. And as Sib says, we've talked about punishing breaking GAs, but nobody's about business on that. So we'll see. We need coaches to make decisions as well. So yeah, he was pretty clear, Sib, really, that the pros now and the coaches are not being so harsh and clamping down on GA breaks than they were previously. Maybe the thought is, like, if you're FaZe, OpTic, or whatever, you're a top team, you're saying, oh, Rocker have broken these GAs. Now, to be fair, if I'm OpTic, I'm pissed off about it because it was against us. And if I'm Vikul, I'm pissed off about it because that was 10 points for the Minnesota Rocker that they might not otherwise have got had they not have cheated the rules. Let's say that, to be fair, the pros have come up with. It's not against the CDL rules, but nonetheless, it's a pretty big deal. So, yeah, Simp seems to be of the opinion that the teams aren't really on board anymore with enforcing the GAs. And look, the pros come up with these rules. It's on the pros to enforce them. If they can't enforce them, they can't complain when people stop following them. And that is, I wouldn't even say my fear, just because I'm interested to see what happens from an entertainment point of view. Because if it's now becoming widely known, even by the pros themselves, that, well, you can break a GA and probably get away with it, then why would you not do that? There's World Championship qualification on the line, and when we get to the World Championship, there's $2 odd million on the line. This is the point that we wanted at the start of the season. Would players such as, this man, the snake himself, Mr. Cellium, look, and he's done well. He hasn't snaked this year. It's a fair play. It does prove that Cell actually can not snake if he chooses not to. But what do you think, right? When the World Championship comes around, if the pros aren't being so heavy-handed in punishing GA breaks, what's to stop somebody hitting a bit of a snake, hitting a bit of a stair glitch? All of a sudden that happens against FaZe, and now Cellium says, well, screw it. This GA is clearly out the window. I'm going to be snaking as well. And then all of a sudden it's an absolute shambles. I don't expect it to be that bad for the World Championship, but I think there is a very realistic possibility that when we get to Riyadh for the Esports World Cup, it's an absolute mess. Like, I think there is a legit possibility that the GAs completely go out the window for the Esports World Cup. And if that's true, it will be entertaining, but it may be kind of cheese. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Just one final Brian stat here to close out the video. FaZe, in their qualifiers in history from Cold War to now, are 71 in 19. So they've played 90, they've won 71 of those 90. That's pretty damn good. This season, Ravens, Rocker, and Gorillas have 19 this season, and Boston has 22. So kind of incredible that over the last 4 years, FaZe have the same series losses than many of these teams do in just 1 year, and it's not even the entire season. And Boston are even way above that, which is genuinely quite impressive. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
I was going to talk about this bachelor party, but man, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I can now, brother. I'm about to erupt. It's about to be a Rambo Jambo eruption. What the fuck is, gentlemen, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Nah! 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 I never seen nothing like it in my life. Rambo Jambo just gifted 500 subs.